Okay, so now that I've had this for about a month and I've put a couple hundred miles on each of these bikes, I wanted to kind of give you a long-term review on these bikes. Wow, this bird is like really going at it. All right, so these are all 20-inch fat tire bikes, and as I've said before, I'm not the biggest fan of fat tire bikes, mainly because they feel more like, to me, like they're scooters with pedals attached than bicycles with a little motor attach them to give you a little boost. So because they're so heavy and the rolling resistance is so big from the fat tires, you really can't add too much by pedaling. Like, these all have 750 watt sustained motors, and a person can, like, I can put out 100 watts comfortably for a long time. 200 watts to 250 watts, if I'm really pushing it, I can sustain it for about 20 minutes before I'm completely dead. So you really can't add much to a 750 watt engine. That's going to do the bulk of the work for you. And especially this bike at the end, the Engwe Pro, that thing will put out like 1200 watts for short periods of time. And so you really can't add too much. I've had these bikes run out of juice before I got to my destination, and it was uphill, and 1 mile of pedaling these things up a hill without boost is so much work. It's more than 10 miles of pedaling a regular bike up a hill. All right, so okay, so that being said, they are very comfortable, and because the tires are so big, I think you're going to get much fewer punctures and flats in them, which is good because I think it'd be really hard to fix a flat on these things. But they are very, very comfortable. Now, all of these are front suspension bikes, except for the Engwe Pro, which is a full suspension bike, the only full suspension bike. And then the Engwe Pro, the TST Buddy, and the Vetanya Pika are all folding bikes. The HAOQI Antelope Pro is not a folding bike. So 3 folders, 1 non-folder. But when you look at them, they all look very similar. Okay, so the Engwe Pro and the Buddy look very similar. And the HAOQI Antelope and the Vetanya Pika are both step-through designs. They are much more comfortable to get in and out of. You don't have to, you can just step through it. So they are more comfortable. And especially if you have limited hip mobility, that's going to be more comfortable for you. All right, so let's start off on which I think is the best in certain categories. Which one has the best build quality? I'm going to have to go with this one for the best build quality, the Vetanya Pika. Now, they're all very good, but I would say this one, just the paint job is nicer. The way that they wrap the cables is really good. Has good hydraulic brakes. The screen is very nice. So this one just is a little bit better than the rest. Which one is the highest range? That's going to be this one, the HAOQI Antelope Pro. So I really like this bike. It's got 2 batteries here and here. So this is a 25 amp hour battery if you add those 2 together. It has these odd cutouts in the rims, which they look cool, but I don't know long term if that's going to be a good thing or not. But they look really nice. It's got a basket. Like I said in the review of this bike, I think if they would have just put a longer rack and put a big basket on the back and really lean into the cargo bike, I think this is the best bike. And as a fat tire bike, I think make it a cargo bike makes the most sense. But this has the most range, probably over 40 miles of range with this bike. All right, which one is the most value for the money? I'm gonna say maybe this one, the Engwe Pro. Now, back in January, this was like $11.50, which was a really good deal. Now I looked at the price today, and it's $13.99, which is maybe not as good of a deal. But if you want a full suspension bike, this is the only one. And this is probably the fastest, and it's geared so that you can pedal it over 30 miles per hour, which is really nice. And these shocks actually are quite good, and it's very well built, and it's fast. So this is probably the most value for the money. Now, I will say, because of the shocks, it's even harder to pedal if you run out of juice. And this one is the only one that actually has, you can actually do regenerative braking on this bike. It's a little hard to do. you have to put it down to pedal assist 1, and you have to be going over 15 miles per hour. But it does do regenerative braking, and it's pretty aggressive. So it works pretty well. I don't know that you get too much back, but this one is the only one that has that. And then, which one is the most portable? It's going to be this one. This one is the lightest, the TST Buddy. We took this down to Mission Bay around San Diego and rode around the bay with this because it actually fits in the back of our car, and it worked out really nicely. I kind of wish that they would have leaned into it more and made it not a fat tire bike and made it even lighter. That would be better for me, in my opinion. But it's a very nice bike, and it's the most portable. So if you really want a portable folder, this is going to be the one that you want. And I really like this feature of both this bike and the Engwe Pro. You can lock the battery in place, and you can take this key out, and then no one can, it's harder to steal the bike in that the bike won't turn on if you have this out. And again, really like the bottle cage holder mounts here, so you can add a bottle to this. So this is a good one for that. Now, what are the things I don't like about these bikes? Again, this Engwe Pro, this is just way too high, and this handlebar is almost at shoulder level when you sit down. And so it's a very, very upright riding position, which some people may like, but I personally do not like that. But if you like a very upright riding position, this is going to work well for you. It's a super plush ride because it has both front and rear shocks. You can lock out the front shock. Like, this is engaged, this is locked out. The headlights on all these are good. One thing I forgot to add, I hate the pedal on this bike. So if you look at this pedal, it's really weird. This center part is higher than the rest of this. So when you use this pedal, you kind of feel like you're floating around on this. And it's the same on both sides. It's a terrible pedal design. So if they were gonna do this, so I mean, they did this because it's a folder, but if they wanted to make it, they should have made these ridges taller and made these spikes bigger, so that when you plant on this, you don't feel like you're floating on this. This is the point of contact on this pedal. So Engwe needs to change this pedal. This is a terrible pedal. I mean, it's strong, it's metal. I like that, but this floater and this ridge in the middle where your feet float around, it's not good. This one, I don't like how you have to deal with 2 batteries. You have to keep track of charging 2 separate batteries. Other than that, this is probably my brother's favorite bike. So he likes it. It feels solid, and the handlebar's not too high, and it works. Look, it works well. It's got a nice basket, so we like that. This one, nothing wrong with this one. This one's $9.99, which is a pretty good deal. Again, don't need a rear suspension on these bikes. With a fat tire, the ride is plush enough as it is. The components on this, you can tell, is a little bit of a lower end bike, but I wish that they would have leaned into making it a portable folder again, and made these wheels smaller, made the thing a little bit lighter, less beefy, more portable. But the seats are real nice, and it looks good, and again, it's portable. And I wish all of these had slightly lower handlebars. I just don't like the upright seating position, but I think most people like it. This one, I think it's very heavy as a folder. It has a nice hinge, but it's a little bit harder to fold than the other two. But this is probably the best built bike, and the components are really nice, and everything seems very high quality on this. I really like the red accent on the Shimano Tourney rear derailleur, and it's also got this suspension seat, which is pretty nice. So I think after using all of these, my favorite is gonna be either this cargo bike or the Vetanya, because as a fat tire bike, you want it to be something that carries a lot of stuff. I think that makes the most sense as a fat tire bike, and the step-through design is just more comfortable. My wife and my brother, they both prefer the step-through design, and the position of the handlebars, this is my favorite. This one is a little high, but not as high as the Engwe Pro. But if you like a really upright position, you're gonna want this one. This is probably the plushest ride, probably slightly the fastest bike out of the group by a few miles per hour, and the value for the money is good, but it's just too upright for me. I just don't like the upright. And this one folds, and it won't fit in my car, but it'll probably fit in a small SUV, no problem. Okay, so I hope that was useful for you guys. I believe HAOQI is actually running a Valentine's Day special, and they have a special sale going on, so I'll have details about that in the description below. And if you watch, the prices of these things change all the time. Like this was $11.50 for a while, now it's $13.99. I'm sure it's going to go on sale again, and all of these, they go on sale from time to time. The current price at the time I'm doing this is $13.99, $15.99, $9.99, and $16.99. So this is the most expensive bike, but you do get the most, the best build quality. This one actually at $15.99 is a pretty good value if you want the longest range bike. All right, I'll probably be doing these e-bike reviews from time to time. Especially if I find some bikes that I find interesting. Out of this set, I'm probably gonna be, for me personally, just for what I like, I'm probably gonna keep either this one or that one. But depending on what your needs are, I think these are all fine bikes, and you have to decide what you want. Do you want the longest range, the plushest ride, and the fastest bike? You want the most portable thing, or you want a bike that looks nice and has a step-through design? And actually, this has pretty good range too. This is a 20 amp hour battery. All right, thanks for watching, guys.